where, we had a lot of ups and downs, took quite a few losses, but it just shows how incredible this fan base is, how passionate they are, how consistent they are, how knowledgeable, how high their basketball IQ is to understand, that we have a plan and that we're enacting that plan. So bravo to our fans for being great all season long. Also, too, the Trailblazers organization for having such, a positive attitude throughout this process. Like, there's a lot of ways to react to losses, and I think our group, when I say group, I mean everybody. Jody Allen, Bert Cole, coaching staff, players, front office, business side. We were all together. We had a plan. We're taking care of that plan. So bravo to our organization for just a terrific attitude this season. We had to take a step backwards in order to move forward. We've positioned ourselves to where I think we have some great opportunities. We have a really intriguing core: Damian Lillard, Anfernee Simons, Josh Hart, Yusuf Nurkic, Nassir Little, Justice Winslow, potentially 2 lottery picks, numerous cap exceptions, a bunch of cap flexibility. We are determined to get better, to be competitive as quickly as possible, and we're super confident in our ability to do that. With that, I'll open up some questions.
Joe, what do you see as your biggest challenges as you embark on this season?
I would say the biggest challenge is getting the right amount of talent. I like our talent base. We need more. It's hard getting great players in this league, whether it's through the draft, through trade. You need, in trades, it takes 2 to tango. You need that trade partner. I hope that we have the assets and the cap flexibility exceptions contracts to get that done. But, getting that high-end talent is the biggest challenge.
Are you confident in your planning that you've identified players that are obtainable and that they will be available, and so that all this isn't a waste in the end? Or do you feel like it's going to take a couple summers to get the guys you want?
Yeah, I think it can take multiple off seasons to completely fine-tune the roster and to completely exhaust all the opportunities. Sometimes, to your point, are they attainable? Like, every team in this league has players that they covet, but if they're not attainable, or if you don't have the right assets, or if they're just simply not on the market, yeah, you have to wait. So sometimes it takes time for those opportunities to present themselves. But I also think that we're in a place where we don't necessarily need to hit a home run right out of the gate in order to be competitive. We had a 4-game win streak, which, it's only 4 games, small sample size. But I think the way and this was with Anfernee, Josh, Justice, and Nurk, and, the rest of the guys. But without Damian, we had a 4-game win streak where we beat 2 really good teams and played our style of basketball, where we were guarding and playing together and, just had a ton of energy, and I think our talent level shined. So I don't think that we necessarily have to hit a home run, although we're going to try to hit a home run. So, but we got to be patient at the same time, where not every opportunity will present itself necessarily in May, June, July.
Joe, I know that the search for a GM is still ongoing, but have they given you a sense of when they might have a decision one way or the other about that? Like, for instance, like by, a month from now, the draft combine, you would think that they would want to let you know one way or the other whether they're going to keep you in the job or bring someone else in. Have they given you a sense of that timeline? No sense
of timeline yet, other than just a really consistent commitment to me. From day one, they being Jody and Bert and, the leadership group have been super trustworthy of my decisions. They've allowed me to do a lot of staffing changes. They've allowed me to, do a lot of roster changes. So for me, it's always been, I can tell they fully trust me. And that's really all I'm trying to accomplish here. Is I feel like I've earned that trust, and I had it from the onset, and I'm just moving forward that way.
Joe, what's the reaction been from the core group of guys through this whole process?
Incredibly supportive. This year could have went a lot of different directions with where we were at, in December. I could have heard a lot of different things. Trade me. I don't want to be here. I don't believe in what you guys are doing. I didn't hear any of that. We're going through exit interviews right now with, all the players after we finish the season, and I don't hear anything negative. Like literally nothing. Nothing about my role, their role, the prospect of us winning ball games moving forward. There are zero doubts within this organization, specifically from our players, the leaders of our group. Damian Lillard, Josh Hart, Anfernee Simons, Yusuf Nurkic. Not a word. Mm-hmm.
Joe, how would you describe this draft class?
Still evaluating. We got the draft combine in a little over a month where, we get some of the information that we don't have access to, the medicals, the interviews, where you're building your entire book on the players. From a straight basketball perspective, I think it's a solid draft. It's like I've been focusing heavily on the lottery with having potentially 2 lottery picks, and the depth of the talent is intriguing to me right now.
I'm not sure how you would answer this question at this point, but I'll ask you anyway. Would the preference be to make that pick or turn that pick into the type of player we talked about earlier who maybe could help you hit a home run?
The preference is to maximize that pick however we do that. So this is where I'm going to spend really the next 2, 3, 4 weeks diving into the game film and really evaluating this draft, and particularly assessing value to what that pick is. So then you compare that to what's available in the marketplace, and then you make a decision. If we decide that the player at that pick is much more valuable than what we can get in the marketplace, we go that direction. If it's the opposite, we go the other direction. I don't want to play both sides. We want to win. We want to be really competitive next year, and I think we all are aware that it's you're more likely to win with veteran players than young players. So that will definitely be a part of our decision-making process.
Joe, a couple times so far today you've mentioned Nurk as part of the core, and I know obviously he's a free agent coming up and you can't talk about specific deals, but are we to read into that the plan and the preference is to have him here next year?
Yeah, and when I say I think it's we are big fans of Yusuf Nurkic. I think he had a career year this year. I think every year we've seen a significant amount of growth from him, and expect that to continue. I mean, he's only 27 years old. He's just scratching the surface of his prime, and I think he's the type of player that we would definitely want to build around.
On that same note, last night Chauncey said that he has thoroughly enjoyed coaching him this season. Do you think the coaching staff has played a role in this growth?
Definitely. And I've heard it a lot about Chauncey, throughout the season, but also in these exit interviews of just how excellent he is, not just as a coach and a X and O person, but as a leader and as a mentor and as a person who gets the best out of you and believes in you and empowers you. So, I think Yusuf would speak super highly of Chauncey, as would the rest of our guys. It's been the stuff I hear from them about how they feel about their coach. It's really encouraging.
And do you feel like, unfortunately, this season, just because of how it's gone, that the shine has been kind of taken off of the coaching staff?
I do, yeah, and that's why I think they deserve a different kind of shine, and it's stuff you don't see every day, but the attitude that they had this year was super impressive. They didn't sign up for this. They came here thinking they were going to win, at least 45 to 55 ball games, and, be competing in these playoffs coming up, and it was the opposite. And they could have reacted differently, and they didn't. They had a great attitude. They were terrific with these young players and all these moving pieces, and it shows another layer of their skill set. To now we can see, okay, they have the right attitude, they have the right team first approach. Now let's put their skills in place with a talented roster.
The NBA's long been a league where sometimes being bad is the way to go in order to be good. Did you at all though feel any discomfort or uncertainty about shifting things in that direction, knowing that things were going to get really, really, really bad, but that there was a light at the end of the tunnel?
I still feel uncomfortable about it. You know, we have a really competitive group. We didn't want to lose ball games. You know, it's, to your point, sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes, you know, you have to go with your youth movement. But our goal all along was for this to not be an extended period of losing. And I think that's part of the reason why I can talk about how our attitudes were so good. This theoretically is a really quick step backwards. You know, we're not looking at 1, 2, 3, 4 years of this. So that makes it easier. But as far as the discomfort and, you know, the willingness to accept losing, that was really hard for us and continues to be.
Joe, how do you approach Amp's free agency, knowing that he is restricted? And I know sometimes teams kind of let the player go out and get an offer first and then approach it that way. Is that how you go about it, or are you more proactive in kind of trying to be the first with them?
My goal would be to be proactive. I think we have a really good relationship with Anfernee and his agency, and I would hope that we can, once we're allowed to start talking, that we can come to an agreement that makes sense for both sides.
Do you have a sense about what you think that market might look like?
Yeah, I have a sense. I think it'll be strong. I think the league thinks super highly of him, as do we, and I'm sure he'll have a lot of calls on July 1, you know, and a lot of invites to meetings.
I don't think we've talked to you since you guys signed Trenton.
Probably not.
Can you
Yeah.
talk about the decision there and what you see his future being?
Sure. Just think he's a really nice player, and you know the two-way contract system. You know, you're limited into the years that you're able to give. So, you know, for Trenton and for us, doing a longer deal and a conversion into a regular contract, it just made sense. You know, and he flat out earned it, and it was fun, you know, seeing how excited he was about that contract and that, you know, that validation of, hey, I'm an NBA player, I've earned this. And you know, then it was fun seeing him react to that contract by playing even better. You know, I thought he had a really good month up till he got injured, and you know, we've seen some real progress in him and a skill set that can definitely help us moving forward.
Do you know who will represent you guys at the lottery?
We haven't decided yet. Yeah. Any suggestions?
Brooke.
I can go.
Brooke,
I'll be there.
you're in?
Sean.
Yeah, I'm there.
Sean's?
That's what I
Sean's a
thought.
good one.
If
B-Roy?
I said me.
Oh, Brooke.
Brooke.
Sorry, Brooke.
Sean, that's it. Someone else go. I lost my train of thought. Thinking about Brooke and Sean's together. Go ahead.
I'll pick up, sorry. Just your thoughts on the future of Nassir a little.
Super excited. I thought, you know, we've seen flashes from Nassir throughout his first few years. You know, we'd see, you know, an electric game in Milwaukee, but then, you know, a little dry spell where, you know, he'd struggle a little, and then 6 games later, another big one. So I think his talent is obvious. The next step for him was his consistency, and we were just starting to find that. I think in 2022, we really saw, you know, where it was 3 out of 4 games where he was really effective. You know, and when I say effective, I don't mean just with his energy or athleticism, but in his skill set with his ball handling and his shooting and his playmaking and his transition work and crashing the offensive glass. Like, he's a really talented guy who I think the future is extremely bright for.
Kind of seems like a diamond, like, I don't want to say a diamond in the rough, but someone we haven't seen the, like, extent of what he can do yet.
We haven't, and he is just scratching the surface, and his confidence is just getting to where it needs to be. And you know, the injury was unfortunate because we would have got all these reps throughout the rest of the season, but he and I have talked a lot about this where he already proved it to himself. Like, what he did this season already showed him what he's capable of, so now we just grow from there.
Do you have a sense that maybe some sort of extension is possible with him this summer, going into year 4?
Yeah, something we'll all definitely look at. I mean, I'm a huge fan of him, and if we can figure something out, that'd be great.
What's the latest on Dame? How's Dame coming along?
He's come along really well. Yeah, he's out there working out now. Still doing strictly 1-on-0 stuff, but starting to go really hard to where, like extended workouts, 30, 45, 60 minutes, and, running up and down and working on his conditioning and his, return to play stuff. So he's doing great. This break, I think, was really important for him. Not just getting that core fixed, but just resting his body for an extended period of time, resting his mind for an extended period of time. Fueling this fire that is Damian Lillard, he's ready to rock, and it's fun, we've still got a ways to go here, 5-6 more months before we really get back to it, and trying to funnel that energy in the right way. He's ready to go here pretty quickly if he can, but we've pivoted to Damian working on helping us build this roster, learning the salary cap, these kind of things. He knows more about trade exceptions than anybody in this room right now. So we're focusing him in on, one step at a time.
Sounds good.
So what did you think about his comments last night, just to the crowd that,
I loved it. Yeah, fantastic. And, it's needed. It's great to see him go out there and, in times of struggles, where we've lost all these ball games, for him to say, everything's okay. I believe in us, and it's not going to be like this for long. I thought it was perfect.
I remember my question. So going into the offseason, it's one thing we have to say we have cap space. It's another thing to say we can trade for guys. And obviously, you trade for someone, you want them to resign here.
Mhm.
So is there a brand new recruiting plan in place to get players to Portland that their caliber of play, those guys wouldn't have come in the past or didn't come in the past?
It's a generic plan where we're going to be a united group and we're going to be ourselves, and we're going to be confident in that room. And I don't think we don't have a plan in as much as a PowerPoint presentation or some sort of recruiting pitch yet, but it's more Chauncey, Damian, and I in a room telling stories about this organization and pitching players on things we believe in, and how they can come in and help us achieve these goals. So it's essentially be ourselves and be active and be aggressive.
Joe, from appearances, it would look like you guys are moving forward with the idea of Dame and Ant as a starting back.
Yeah.
What can you say to people who are concerned that kind of replicates the model you had with Dame and CJ? Never
Yeah,
reached him.
I get it. And it's logical there too. Or you're small at the 2-guard position. At the same time, it is different. I mean, Anfernee's a different kind of player. There are still similar obstacles. We've got to figure out a way to be a top 10 defense. In order to compete for a championship, you have to at least flirt with that type of defensive rating. Can our offense be electric enough to be a top 15 defense and get away with it? Maybe. But again, I think this falls back to what does the supporting cast look like? And we've started to build that supporting cast that I think is so far pretty high end with Josh Hart, Yusuf Nurkic, Nassir Little, Justice Winslow. But we're not done. We have to continue to, again, I talk about talent all the time, but we've got to find guys that can guard people and make others better and, have high IQs and feels and be able to play off the move. So it's a challenge, but the supporting cast has got to be our primary objective at this point.
Warren, did you have a question?
Yes, the league has an average of about 25% international players. This team has had a whole lot less than that in the last few years. Is that something you put into your consideration when you come scouting talent?
It is, and it's something that we've addressed in part recently. So historically, we've only had one international scout. Recently, we just hired another one. So it's a goal of mine to continue to keep bulking up our international scouting. The world, there's tons of great basketball players throughout this world, not just in Europe, and to your point, like when a quarter of the league is international players, if a quarter of your roster isn't, you might be missing something. So I agree with you. We want to bulk up that part of our scouting. Mhm.
Any more questions for Joe? Thanks, Joe.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Bring Chauncey in about 2 minutes. Take both, Joe?
Just take both.
Thanks. There's Joe. He was talking, it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, I didn't notice it.
Okay, cool. I was making, I looked down at my meeting.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I
No,
would too.
but like, it's some, it took like 25 minutes to
Hey
get
Tristan, can you turn
from Glen Jackson onto I-5.
level on what? On the
And so I'm sitting just behind the semi.
Not on the box, no.
Input coming in.
For no reason.
So you're not running through
It's not even there.
No, we're just running
I
it.
was like,
Yeah.
There were a few times I looked down and my meter wasn't even moving.
and then there started to snow on top of it.
Is there any way that you can turn up on your end?
Nothing there.
No, no,
It's raining.
taking on the
Used to this.
Hopefully what you're getting is great.
I mean, yeah, it is. What I'm getting is great.
Were you listening?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry.
Because someone on
Maybe
location.
it did that.
Did you see what
I
you
mean, I
said?
don't know, yeah.
No one?
But it have a short in it.
There's no one to talk to over there?
I was just wondering if you guys were.
Then ask him who is it to.
Did Bruce say anything about the?
You don't know that. No, but ask them who knows and can they put him in the phone. Okay.
Start with opening remarks for Coach, and then we'll open up for questions.
Let's see. What have I told y'all? I can tell you that I haven't told y'all last night. Right. As y'all all know, I mean, it was a long season for all of us, but in my eyes, it was a really good season. I learned a ton. We spoke a little bit about it last night. It was totally different than I even ever imagined. You sign up to be the coach, and we have what I felt then, still that we are the best point guard in the game, and Dame, which is one of the most attractive things about the the job, excuse me. And then he's hurt, the entire time. Then CJ goes down, he's hurt. Obviously what happened with Neil, the guy that believed in me, he brought me here. He's gone. Like, it's just this pivot. It's pivots every single 2 or 3 weeks. But as I said last night, like it taught me so much. I learned so much about our team, our guys, about coaching. What happened this year to me was really kind of a microcosm of life itself. Things just happen. You have to make changes. And you have to try to find the beauty in it. And as a leader of the team, I can't wear that stuff. I gotta be strong for my dudes. I gotta be there. I gotta stand tall. And it's just kind of who I am. It's who I was as a player. So I am as a person. Period. So every single challenge, I stood there and I took it. Tried to do the best that I could. And I feel like there's so many shining moments that came from it. Obviously we now have a chance to kind of reshuffle the deck with our team, with our organization. We've went through a lot of, it was an influx a ton. We've added some really great people to our organization. So we're here now, and to me, I'm really happy to be right here because year 2 starts today for us, and that's really important. And it was tough getting through the season. Obviously, I'm a very competitive person. I've always considered myself to be a winner in everything, every part of life. And so losing is no fun. But that's over. And like I said, year 2 starts today. So any questions y'all got, let's get it.
Chauncey, How much did all those years of playing with different coaches and different teams help you in working with the guys throughout this difficult season?
Yeah, I relied on a lot of my experiences all season long, to be honest with you. You know, my career was really long, and I won a lot. I lost a lot. I first came in the league. I was on really bad teams as a high draft pick, so that was kind of my first experience in the league. I think we won I played with Boston and Toronto my first year, and I think in my Toronto year, I think we might have won 19 games or 20 games or so, something similar, you know? And again, even at that time, it was tough losing. Never really lost like that in my life. But you have to learn from it, you know, and I did then. And so I was able to put myself in our guys' shoes as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, and trying to figure out the cadence of the NBA, but losing every night. I was able to actually talk to them through that situation. So it was it's been a lot of those experiences that I've been able to connect with all of our guys.
Chauncey, you said you were brought in obviously by one GM, and now you've been working so closely with Joe. What's your relationship like with Joe, and how has that been kind of navigating through all of this?
Yeah.
It's been such an interesting year.
Yeah, my relationship is really, I think, is incredible with Joe. I've known Joe since high school, and obviously our relationship is totally different now as grown men working together. I love that Joe is he's a leader. He's a humble dude. It's the way that I am kind of with my staff. As I tell my staff all the time, y'all don't work for me, y'all work with me. Joe's the same way with me. And we talk about a lot of things. It's really important for him to understand what I value in players and people, just in life. My principles as a person, as a coach, those things are really important to Joe. And I just can appreciate that. And I think Joe is going to be a real star in his job. The way he treats people, he's just wicked smart. He understands basketball. He understands talent. My relationship is really, really, really good with Joe.
Does that speak to the culture that you want to build here?
It does. It does. And you look at some of the moves that he's already made as an interim GM, you know, and just, you know, cleaning up our culture here. A lot of the hires that he's made, he's sought my advice on a lot of them when he didn't really have to do that, you know, but we're trying to build something really special here together. And for him to that it would matter to him that I would have some, you know, have some advice on some of the hires that are really kind of on his side, a lot of them, but we're all doing this thing together. And a lot of people say that, Brooke, but a lot of people don't act that way, and he acts that way, and I appreciate that.
Chauncey, it looks like you guys are going to build around a backcourt of Damian and Ant.
Yeah.
Neither of whom are regarded as outstanding defenders, but you guys want to be a good defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
How do you approach that element of it?
I think it's all really about, you know, it's all really about team defense. If you look around the league, there are not a lot of elite defensive players. Just, okay, you put that one dude and he just wrecks shop. You can count on, there's probably 7 or 8 out of 500 guys. So more importantly than the individual thing is engagement. Both guys are very engaged on the defensive end. It's more about our team concepts and our team principle, and also the team defenders that you put around them. So it's more important to be, and you look at a lot of the good defensive teams around the league right now, there's a lot of guys that you could point to and be like, yeah, but he's not like he's not a stopper. But their defense is really good. I played on some really amazing defensive teams. I wouldn't call myself a stopper when I was playing. But I made 2 defensive teams because I was always in the right position. I competed. Like I wasn't a lockdown guy. There were guys that I made the team over that were much better defensive players than me. But our defensive schemes and our togetherness out there propelled everybody. That's what I want to get to. So those guys, they care about it. They're competitive dudes. They're not just going to let people come down and keep scoring on them without. They're too competitive for that. So to me, that's the most important part, Jason.
Chauncey, you were just talking about some of the things that Joe has done as far as changing the culture and kind of your day-to-day working relationship with him. How would you say that your kind of day-to-day working dynamic with him is different than it was with the previous GM?
It's very different. It's very different. Everybody has their own way to lead their crew. Their personalities are just totally different. Neil was more, he's just gonna kind of run it and do his thing as he might see, and then when it's done, we'll just kind of pick up and do it, you know. Joe is more, you know, he's gonna make the moves that you guys both want to make, you know. And listen, there are a lot of GMs in the league that are kind of like how Neil ran it, that are very, very successful, you know. And there's some that are like Joe that are very successful. To each his own, you know, to each his own. If we're being honest, Neil built he had a lot of success here with a lot of the teams. Western Conference Finals, winning playoffs every single year. He did it his way, and he did it right. They won, you know, they won. So now it's Joe's turn, hopefully to have his tenure and see how good he could do.
Chauncey, you've got 2 guys, important guys, Yusuf and Ant, who are going in free agency this offseason. And,
Yeah.
I know you have pretty close relationships with those guys, particularly with Ant, talking about that kind of being one of your main charters when you got here.
Yeah.
And as a former player, how much does a relationship with a coach or with a staff factor into kind of your decision in terms of what you might do in terms of free agency?
Yeah, it's really important. It's really, really important. I think as a player, you know, you want to know that you have the support of the coach. You want to know that that coach values the way that you actually play. You want to know that that coach values the person that you are, the principles that you are as a man. And just to have like a good working friendship with the coach. Because it could go the other way pretty quickly. And it just not work out, you know. So I think that I've built some really good friendships with both guys, with all guys on our team this year, by way of just who I am and who they are. It's pretty easy to do. They're just good dudes, man. They're good dudes, and obviously we know the players that they are, but I think any player in free agency, that's going to be a really, really important hurdle to cross is what is my relationship going to be like with the head coach? Because we're in constant communication every single day, you know, every single day. So that's going to be really important.
Coach, how confident are you that all the moves that have been made and the losing is all going to pay off, and that you guys can target and impact and then get that player to either come here as a free agent or come here and trade and sign an extension, something that the market has really never succeeded at very often?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel good, Aaron. I feel good about it. I think that we have an opportunity that I don't know that this organization has ever had, you know, to be able to have step it back just this one season and be able to get pretty good pretty fast. I know and I believe that a lot of players in the league want to play for somebody like me. I just believe that. Former player, understands the cadence of the NBA, understands what's important in terms of playing, rest, a dude that's going to hold you accountable, you know, without being disrespectful towards you. I'm a guy that believes that even the great players want to be coached. Even whether they say it or not, everybody wants to be coached because most people want to be great. Most people really actually want to win. And I'm not the dude that thinks that because a dude is already great that there's no other level he can make it to. I don't believe that. So I'm going to coach everybody. And I'm going to hold everybody accountable too. And I think all our guys realized that this year and they actually grew to appreciate that. And so with all of that being said, your players become your best recruiters. And so now, whatever guys that are targeted or whatever guys that, you know, we say we're going to go after, when that pursuit happens, they end up calling our players. Man, how's the GM? How's Joe? How was it playing for Chauncey? Like, you know, they ask all the questions. I've been there. I know how that is. So I'm very confident that we can build this thing nicely, you know, and hopefully very quickly. With myself out there, being able to recruit when that's possible, with Dame, with Joe. I mean, when you meet Joe, like, I know the other GMs around the league, and I know how they are. Like Joe is just different. You know, there's a certain authenticity about him, a certain calmness, but also confidence about him that a player can like. So I feel good about it. I do. I feel good about it. I feel very confident about it.
Is it your desire, and would you go to bat for Joe too, full-time GM?
Oh man, 100%, 100%. And everybody knows that. I really do. I think he's going to be a star, and that's coming from this. This could be a very scary place for a first-time head coach who was hired by a different GM that believed in me, that I appreciate, and I will always appreciate. You know, Neil's belief in me. He had to really go out. He had to go to bat for me. You know. So this is me in my first year, them making that change and feeling this way about a new dude that didn't choose me. So I feel very confident in the job that he's going to be able to do, and I love everything about Joe.
Any more questions for Coach?
At the beginning of the season, we talked with you, one of the first times I got the chance to talk, and you said your daughter told you that you need to be nice to the referees. You were wondering.
I got zero text this year.
And no fines from your daughter?
No fines, we good. She told me a couple times, she was like, Dad, that was a little too much tonight. 3 times. I said, you know what, babe, you're right. 2 times, they earned it. I went a little over the top the last time, but I got no text though.
At Memphis, I was press row, and I heard some potty mouth. I don't know.
I didn't say I didn't get into it. I said I got no text.
I thought that Leon in Dallas was, I mean, you guys were having fun, but I think he was contemplating it for a half second.
You know what it is? I'm gonna tell you what it is, seriously. These refs, especially the veteran refs, that I was a little different as a player. Even one of my coaches told me the other day, you were a lot more calm as a coach. But that these refs have heard so much worse from me as a player. They're like, oh, man, easy now. It's the new ones that I'm getting to know that, you know. I got 0 though.
So considering how the season went, was that one of your better accomplishments? Not getting
That was a good accomplishment for me now. But now that we got Dr. Green over here, I'll be calm all year. I'm good. I got a coach now. But really though, I appreciate y'all all year though. I know it's been a tough year. Nothing that we all ever thought. I appreciate y'all supporting y'all every single game, writing articles, and doing what y'all actually honestly have to do. But I appreciate everything from y'all, man. You know, I look forward to going forward with you guys
Thanks, Coach.
and ladies. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to have you take a listen because you guys got take a listen because his lead is so far back. Yeah. Oh, great. Okay, great.
I got his.
Well, no, guys.
Questions for Josh?
Josh, if you're approached by a player this offseason and he asks you what it's like to play for Chauncey, what would you tell him?
I'm gonna say it's great. I'm gonna say he's a player's coach. He's someone who does a great job in terms of building you up and coaching you up, and he also has a good balance of holding you accountable. And I think that's the biggest thing for a coach is obviously helping you develop, but make sure they hold you accountable towards those kind of things. So that's what I'm gonna say. Off the court, he cares about you as a person, and I think that's a big thing. I think that's something that's kind of overlooked sometimes. So I mean, like I said, I've only been here 2 months, but that's what I've seen, and that's what for me is really cool.
I know you haven't really gone through a free agent process, but is that something that would be important to you if you were about to embark on that? Like what the coach is like?
Yeah, for sure. In my situation last year, I think it probably would have been a little different if the coaching situation would have been different in New Orleans. And I knew Willie was the coach and was able to talk to him. So, that was my experience of free agency. Obviously, it was a little bit different, but the coaching staff, the coach, and his personality is huge because obviously that's who you're going to be. You're going to be with him, 82 plus games in the season, and through the ups and the downs. So that's something that's is huge in free agency.
This team's gonna go out and try, or management's gonna go out and try and recruit players to come here, and both Chauncey and Cronin talked about, how players will be involved in that. What would be your selling point to a player that may or may not want to come here?
I think small market teams always get a knock for being in the small market, but my short time here, being in Portland has been amazing. The fan base here is incredible. I was in New Orleans. It was different because you had the Saints, and down south is football country. So being here, being the only professional team here, it doesn't feel like a small market. You have fans that come out every game to support. We've been struggling the last 20 games. Losing some games by 20, 30 points, and they're there till to the end of the game. So that's a big selling point for us. And obviously them, the coaching staff, Chauncey, the players that we have, Dame, Nurk, Ant, myself. I think we have a good balance of an amazing city, a great atmosphere in terms of in the arena, and you got players that are hungry, coaches that are hungry, front office people that are hungry to make their mark in this league, and I think that's a big selling point for us.
Josh, I think it's probably a foregone conclusion considering that you were kind of the centerpiece of the trade that the team made. But have you talked at all with the team about your contract for this offseason?
Yeah, I talked to them, and I'll be here next year. Barring obviously still a business, but barring something happening this offseason, I fully expect to be here, and they kind of give me that reassurance about something drastic happens.
Have they told you exactly what your role might be or what they're expecting of you?
Yeah, I talked to both Joe and Chauncey, and it's definitely going to be a little bit different than I'm used to. I'm actually going to be more guard dominant, I guess, next year in terms of playmaking, having the ball in my hand, doing that kind of thing. So that's something I'm excited about. If you look at my time in this league last year and this year in New Orleans, I was like, the starting four, playing, 2 through 4. So now the role and the role and the playmaking, that is going to be different. But it's something that I'm excited about. It's something I feel like I'm comfortable with, and I'm just looking forward to it.
Do you prefer that?
I prefer anything that puts me on the court. So if that's playing 1, 2, 3, or 4, I want to be on the court, and I think my versatility helps with that.
Josh, you talked about how much you like it here. With the team coming together during the offseason, getting the healthy players back, the injured players back, how excited are you for this coming season?
Oh, very, very excited. Obviously, we got a little glimpse of it right before All-Star, and I think we were playing very well. We had a good rhythm, good chemistry with everybody, and obviously we'll be adding Dame to that, and then some guys in free agency. So I'm really excited. I think we have a good chance next year to compete. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think everybody wants to compete. Everybody wants to be in the playoffs. Everybody wants to make a run in the playoffs for a championship. And I think you guys will see that with the moves we make this offseason. And that's what we want next year, and that's what we're going to go do.
Josh, can you describe your dynamic of watching your former team and knowing the stakes at hand for your current team regarding the draft pick? What's that like?
Honestly, it pisses me off, man. Fucking New Orleans in the play-in. I haven't been in the playoffs or play-in in 5 years, man. So it's pissing me off a little bit, but but it's good seeing those guys do well. I know with the trade, our pick depends on, I don't know, whatever it is, but it's. I love those guys there. We're a really tight-knit group there. The coaching staff's amazing. So I think I'm supposed to not cheer for them, but it's hard for me. So I'm in a interesting dynamic there. So I guess I want them to do well. Maybe be in the games, but maybe not win the games, like lose by like a buzzer beater or something. I don't know. But I'm just happy those guys are playing well and competing at a high level.
Who do you stay in touch with over there the most?
That's actually tough because I talked to a lot of those guys. Talked to B.I., obviously Larry, Jonas, Billy, Jose, Najee, Trey. I mean, it's a long list. Like I said, we were a close-knit group. A lot of us still have group texts and group threads. So I try to talk to those guys a lot, especially the young guys who are trying to make their stamp in the league, and talking to them and just giving them reassurance that they belong here, and that if they need anything, they can call me.
You mentioned talking to the young guys in New Orleans, but so when the team was in New Orleans playing that last game, you got up and kind of were in the huddle talking to guys. I mean, Chauncey and a couple players mentioned it after the fact. So I was curious, one, if you could give a broad sense of kind of what you're talking about, and two, just that notion of coming in and being a leader when you're still new and going forward. Yeah.
So what I was talking to those guys about is at that point, and at the point of the career that we're all at right now, with those guys in the huddle, they're not going to pay any of us to score. With all those guys, I think Ant was on the bench. He's the only one that's really going to get paid to really put the ball in the basket in this league, at least right now, with where everyone's career is. So for those guys, the way for them to be in this league, way for them to make a rotation in this league is by doing the little things, by hustling, by rebounding, by playing defense, and just playing hard in general. And that's something I felt like we weren't doing. And I wanted to just to tell those guys that, because just like them, I'm in that same position. You know what I mean? I'm not being paid to go out there and score 20, 25 points a game. I'm going out there, obviously, to be efficient and be effective on the offensive end, but to guard other teams, 1 and 2 options to bring defense, to bring toughness, to bring that mentality there. So, I wanted to let those guys know that, sometimes it's not always about, the glitz and the glimmer. It's about finding a niche in this league and doing that. So that's something I wanted to tell them. And like I said, I'm not exempt, from what I said at all, because it really applies to myself too, and everyone in that huddle. So that's something I wanted to let them know, and obviously I'm new. It's probably something I feel like I probably should have told them 4 or 5 games before. And I'm just, like I said, I'm new. I'm still getting comfortable with these guys and my role and my voice here. But that's something I felt like I had to say.
You mentioned doing more playmaking, initiating the offense. How's that work? How's that going to work with Damian and does that mean that
Told them to back up. You know what I mean?
Does that mean they would play more off the ball when you're with them sometimes?
I don't know. Obviously that was a very early conversation, and obviously it all really depends on when Dame gets back and his health and that kind of thing. But if he's comfortable playing more off the ball, I mean that's a great job in terms of ability for Ann or myself or whoever we get in free agency to come in and have the ball in their hands a little bit more and kind of take some of that pressure off of him. So I think that's a more of a conversation, but that we got guys that can handle the ball and play make, and I think that's the biggest thing. So I'd rather have too many guys than not enough. So.
Final questions for Josh?
What's your relationship like with Dame? I know it's been a short amount of time, but did you know him before now?
Not really. He's someone that I kind of admired from afar, just in terms of his obviously his game, but his competitiveness. That's something that really stuck with me, his loyalty. Couldn't be too much of a fan because he gave my team and myself a fair share of 30, 40, 50-point games. So, I told him that, and but he's someone who's cool, someone who I have a growing relationship with. I'm excited to finally, I feel like I can finally ask him for a jersey, a signed jersey, because like I said, when I catch an L and he has 40, I can't sit there and ask for his jersey. You know what I mean? So I think I'm most excited about that. But I'm, just excited where we're going.
Josh, being a Nova guy, is there anyone on Nova's current team that most impressed you, or anyone in the college pool that you could see fitting the mold of what this team's looking like?
The college pool. I don't really watch college basketball, so I don't know about that. But in terms of Nova, there's guys who Jermaine and I think right now Jermaine will probably come out. Obviously, will come out. I'm not sure if any of the young guys will come out, but him and Colin are 2 guys that are very, very mature, very coachable. They do the little things, and they're typical Villanova players. They know their roles. They're not going to do too much. They're going to compete at a high level. They're going to do the little things, like I said, and it's just going to be tough. And that's something that obviously I think we can use, is that toughness, that competitiveness. So, I would love to see them, get drafted or get a shot or be here. That's something that I would definitely genuinely love. And we just got to see. But those guys are going to be good players no matter where they are. And, like I said, hopefully I would love that to be here and kind of take them under my wing. But, we'll see.
I was curious, how many signed jerseys do you have?
I probably got about like 15. I don't got too many. It's really a lot of my Nova guys, the guys I'm close with in this league. And I still haven't got to the point like these guys like Dame. I love Dame's jersey. KD, Steph, and all that. But like I said, I'm very competitive, and when I get a loss or they go and score 40 on me. Like, I can't sit there and ask for their jersey. So, you know, I'm waiting to guard those guys, and to get a win, for them to shoot terribly, you know, to have like 15, you know, and shoot like 20%. Then I feel like I can ask for their jerseys. So that hasn't really happened yet with those guys. So, you know, hopefully at some point in the near future, next season, that we can make that happen.
Thanks, Josh.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
You guys see that the Lakers officially fired Frank Vogel?
Thanks, coach.
Well, yeah, that's there was no indication.
Well,
They were
so that's the,
They were going to tell him and he did his press conference and he was like, I haven't been so
yes.
they just officially.
Questions for Ant?
Anfernee, how tough was it for you to sit out the last 6 weeks and not be able to get out for a month?
It was 6 weeks.
I think, well, maybe a month. Is it a month?
I don't know.
Anyway,
But
a long time. How tough was it? It seemed like 6 months to me, but how tough was it for you to be in that?
No, it was pretty tough, especially like, you know, watching the team struggle a little bit, and you know, you want to go out there and help them out. That's always tough, especially as a competitor. So it was definitely tough watching that.
And what are you planning on July 1st when you're allowed to, you know, hit free agency? Are you planning on taking meetings with other teams, or are you kind of hoping to just get something done quickly here to stay here?
I haven't really discussed it with my agent yet, honestly. We've just been, you know, trying to get back healthy and, you know, figure it out when the summer comes. But, you know, I'm pretty sure, you know, we both have a mutual interest in coming back, obviously. So I think it will get done.
Do you expect to come back to Portland regardless of what happens?
Yeah, I think that's what should happen.
And what would you tell prospective free agents if they ask you what it's like to play for coach?
You know, a player's coach, gonna coach you hard, always gonna be on your corner. You know, obviously his reputation as a player speaks for itself. He's been through it all. He understands, you know, what every player on the roster is going through because he's been through every situation. So, you know, he's the perfect coach to, you know, play for and, you know, learn from.
How did he help your development this year?
Helped me out tremendously. Just, you know, his knowledge for the game, you know, his experiences he's went through as a young player. Just now, you know, coming into the league and getting the first chance to play, you know, meaningful minutes and, you know, just being there for me, life, you know, outside of basketball, we got to go through when you start playing again and having a lot of success at one point and how to manage that. And, you know, he's just been mentoring me this whole time, like just on the court and off the court.
Do you view yourself as a player differently now than you did at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, just, you know, seeing the success I had from starting and, you know, playing well just, you know, made my confidence grow even larger and kind of, you know, break me out of my shell a little bit to, you know, now I know that, you know, I can play in this league and be successful and play against the best players and win a lot of games for my team. And so that definitely boosted my confidence.
When you say coming out of your shell, what does that mean for you?
Just being more vocal, you know, knowing the things that I know, being able to tell the team that and be, you know, affirmative with them and stuff. So, you know, I saw myself as, you know, one of the leaders on the team, and I kind of carried that through my play and through my actions, you know, as a voice.
Can you explain why you want to come back to Portland?
You know, I think, you know, just had a perfect situation, you know, just to play with Dame and, you know, bring a new element to, you know, the team and just continue what I've been doing, you know, the past month and trying to bring that next year into the winning culture we want to have. And so I think, you know, next year will be great for us.
What do you plan to focus on this offseason?
Pretty much the same thing I did last season, just continue to, you know, work on, you know, playmaking and finishing. And, you know, I already talked to Chauncey about the stuff I want to get better at and getting fouled. I think that's the next step. A lot of the great players, you know, learn how to get fouled and continue to affect the game in many ways, even when they're not, scoring, making shots. So I think that's the next evolution of my game.
And you talked about your improvement. How excited are you going forward since you're so young? And how excited are you for the next season with this team and growing that much more?
No, it's going to be very exciting. 22 years old and just, now, getting a real, shot at playing and just enjoying each and every moment, trying to get better and knowing that I got so much more to give and so much more to learn. And it's very exciting to know that, this is just the beginning.
Can you think of 2 or 3 moments this past season that you enjoyed the most?
No, I think, obviously, I think the most exciting time was, when we went on that 4-game win streak before the break. That was probably, because I know there were, very good teams we were playing and, a lot of, big name players on the teams, and you just wanted to go in there and compete against them and get the win, most importantly. So I'm glad we did that.
Did you ever feel at some point, I could go for 60 tonight?
I don't really think about it, honestly. If I get hot, I get hot, but I'm looking to just play my game, take the right shots, take the shots I do want to take, and live with the results.
Offensively, a Dame and backcourt sounds amazing. Defensively, though, how do you think it's going to work?
I think it's gonna work. I mean, obviously we got put the right piece around it. Josh, the defensive-minded player, Nas, Nurk. I think just adding that around us. Obviously, and then I think me and him are obviously going to challenge each other to step up in that end and be competitive each and every night on that end. I think I think over the past month that I was playing, Chauncey wasn't holding back on who I was guarding, so he was putting me against the toughest player regardless of my responsibilities on the offensive end. So he wanted me to kind of go through that and take every matchup personally and full head of steam. So I think they helped me out a lot.
What do you think your potential is as a defender?
I think I could be a great defender. I mean, competitively, like I try each and every time I'm on the court to be the best defender I can be. There's a lot of, very hard to be a great defender in the league, and there's not many, and so there's a lot of good players that are good on the offensive end, and you just gotta try your best to detain them and take make them take tough shots.
Were you really supposed to address the crowd last night and didn't want to?
Yeah, that was true. I told him, I was like, that's something I got to rehearse for. I told him he's a rapper and stuff, and I to do stuff a cappella, and so I think yeah, I got to rehearse for a couple times. I told him I'll do it next year for sure, but I gotta sit in front of the mirror and practice for a couple weeks.
But in the future, you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it next year.
Any more questions for Ant?
Oh, so we've asked that. Some of us have asked everyone this so far. So the Blazers obviously went through this to get to the position where they can make things better in the offseason, and that involves bringing in other players, something that in many years has been difficult for this franchise. What do you think is what are some of the biggest selling points for this franchise to try and lure impact players?
Just obviously, having a player like Dame as your leader, so well respected around the league, and everybody knows what he brings to the table each and every day as a leader, as a person, and I think that's going to attract a lot of players to, want to be a part of the culture, and he, voiced publicly that he wants to win and he wants to win now. So I think, that's going to attract a lot of players that want to win, and want to really do something. And so I think showing that what we have around him with Josh, me, Nas, Nurk, and I think Justice. I think that shows like just kind of a building block of what we can be. Just showing them based off what we was doing before everybody went down with injuries. I think just showing them that we can win games. Even without the best player and our leader. And adding him to the mix, I think is going to make it that much better. So I think that's the selling point. Obviously, we have Chauncey, who's a great coach, and a great mentor for each and every player.
Is there anything specific about Chauncey that could make him attractive for other players who want to come play for him?
Yeah, like I said, he's a player's coach. He understands it. When it's business time, he knows how to interact with his players and how to get them to accept their roles and accept what they need to be doing out there on the court. So I think it's gonna be perfect for any player.
The role projected for you for next season is pretty much what CJ has done for years. Do you look at that situation and kind of look at it from the do's and the don'ts?
I wouldn't say that. I think just honestly just playing my game, what I've been doing, for the past month, just picking my spots, finding the right teammates. I think I was attracting a lot of attention, so maybe I do attract a lot of attention next year with Dame. Maybe I don't. I think it's just gonna play into our hands even better. Just continue to work on the playmaking and passing out double teams and stuff, and being ready to shoot whenever they double team Dame. So I think it's just kind of a pick your poison type of deal.
After such a tough stretch, how do you see the team next season?
No, I think we're going to be ready to win next season for sure. I think we have the perfect opportunity to get better this summer, and I think we're going to do that. So next year we're going to be ready for sure.
Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming out, everyone. Just so you know, we'll be in touch in the coming weeks about what coverage of draft workouts and things like that will look like.